Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. So today's video is going to be my pros and cons on project panning. I wanted to make this video just to kind of weigh your options if you were thinking of getting into project panning, if you don't really know what to expect. I know that I sure didn't when I first started project panning, so I thought that this would be a really fun video to do. I have 3 pros and 3 cons for you, so why don't we just go ahead and get started. The first pro that I want to talk about is one that really affected me in a big way, and it was kind of like a lifestyle change if we're gonna get real here, and that is I became a much smarter shopper. What I mean by this is that I have kind of really realized how long it takes to use up makeup. Project panning, you know, it depends on what you put in your project pan, of course, but I've learned that panning any kind of powder product is a task within itself. It does take quite a while. It took me about an entire year to pan a mini blush, so I have about 25 blushes in my collection, and I will never get through those. So it's really made me realize that I need to take a step back when I am shopping for a product and really think to myself, is this a duplicate to something that I already have in my collection? Is this going to add value to my collection? Is this going to replace something in my collection? And will I get my money's worth out of this? So I have become really big on getting my money's worth out of different products. You know, foundations, anything like that, those are a little bit easier to go through, so that's kind of another thing that I've learned throughout this, but I really just think more when I'm shopping for makeup. I used to be a very impulse shopper. I used to just buy things on a whim. Now I really think through things, and you know, after a week of thinking about it, if I still really want it and think that it's going to add value to my collection, I will go ahead and let myself buy it. But if I, at the end of that week, don't even remember the product, then I know that I made a good decision in not purchasing it right away. So that's my first pro. I think that it's really just opened my eyes to how long it takes to use up makeup, and it's really helped me become a more conscious consumer. So the first con that I wanted to talk about is one that I'm still kind of struggling with, and that is project panning can make you neglect other items in your collection. So when you're doing project pan, you have your set amounts of items that obviously, you know, you want to hit your goal on, whether it be a 4-month-long project pan, a year-long project pan. You know, you want to hit your goal and you have that timeline on your mind. You have that end date on your mind, and you're like, man, I really need to get a move on this if I'm gonna hit my goal. With doing that, it can be a little tricky if you have a larger collection, because you'll start neglecting other items in your collection. Now, I'm really talking about anyone who has a pretty extensive makeup collection. If you are someone who has a very minimalistic collection, I commend you. I don't know how you do it. I, for one, am not a minimalist, and I love having a large collection, but makeup does expire, you know, so you want to make sure that you're still getting use out of everything in your collection. That's why I started rotating my makeup collection in my Shop My Stash series, because I really realized that I was focusing solely on my project pan items. You know, I would throw a couple extras here and there, if I bought something new or something, but for the most part, I was ignoring my collection and just trying to hit my goal on these products. You really need to find a balance for yourself. Of course, this is all going to be personal. It all depends on the size of your collection and your goals, but you're going to have to kind of realize by trial and error, okay, I need to use one product a day for my project pan while also using these items from my collection. You know, I want to have this basket where I fill it with makeup that I want to use in a week, and then when I want to, I will use my project pan items. I think that you need to kind of train yourself to say, I want to use my project pan items, rather than forcing yourself to use the project pan items, because that's something that I did for a long time. In my 2018 project pan, I was forcing myself to use those products, and by the end, I resented those products. So you don't want to lose the love that you have for those products, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're using everything else. So that's my first con. It can be a little tricky finding the balance, but once you do, you know, you'll get there and you'll realize what you have to do to make sure you are rotating through. The second pro that I have to talk about is getting a real feel for how you feel about a product. So What I mean by this is you could put something in a project pan because you're like, oh, this is an older product in my collection. I really need to get a move on using this up. But once you put it in your collection, you could realize, I don't like this product and I would rather just declutter it from my collection rather than forcing myself to use it up. This is something that has been huge for me. You know, when I was doing, I'm gonna use personal examples because that's really all I have to go off of here. When I was doing my 2018 project pan and I had the Too Faced Born This Way foundation in it, you know, I was like forcing myself for a little while there to use it, and then I realized that I just don't like that foundation. So I decluttered it. Actually, it's still in my collection, but I don't reach for it, so I should declutter it. But it really just, it kind of awakens you to like what your preferences are, like, oh, I really don't like products that are matte and full coverage, so I'm gonna declutter this and then I'm not going to purchase any more in the future. It just really opens your eyes to your true deep down feelings about a product or a type of product, and it will help you make smarter decisions in the future. My second con kind of goes hand in hand with the first con, and that is getting bored of products that you're using on a daily basis. So when you have those items that you are panning, you are making a conscious effort to reach for them, to use them on a daily basis. You know, you want to hit that goal, but you can get bored of those products real quick. For example, I used the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette last year and I got bored of it like 4 months in, and I was like, I can't look at this palette anymore because it is so boring to me. So you never want to lose that fun aspect of makeup, because to me, makeup should be fun, and makeup is kind of like creative for me, and it's just a hobby for me. It should never feel like work or like you're forcing yourself, or like just, it should never feel like bad. You know, you should never get like a bad gut feeling when you are reaching for a product. You should be excited to use that product. You should be like, yes, I get to use this product today. I'm so excited. I love the way this looks on me. I love applying this, etc. So again, it's about finding that balance of not using your project pan items too much to the point where you get really bored of them, because then you just lose the fun of the project pan in general. You know, project panning shouldn't be work. It should be fun for you. So if you find that you don't feel like it's fun anymore, then you have to switch something up, because you are going to start to resent your project pan, and that again is not the point. So that is my second con. My very last pro is the community. I had no idea how large and supportive the project pan community is. When I started project panning, I met so many people that I had no idea were a part of this great community on YouTube, on Instagram. And it's just been such a joy to like watch everyone's update videos, and we all get so excited for each other, and we're all like rooting for each other, and we're like, yeah, you're doing a great job. We're like, don't beat yourself up, you know, you'll get there next month. You know, it's been so rewarding in that way. I feel like I've made a bunch of really great friends throughout this, and I feel like the community to me is probably the best part of this, because it's such a tight-knit community, and it's a very uplifting community. You know, no one's really negative. No one's like, oh, you suck, you didn't pan. Like, no, it's not like that. It's very supportive in that way. So if you are looking to project pan, that's definitely something to look forward to. Is there is such a community out here, and you know, it's very supportive, and you'll probably make a ton of friends. So that is the last pro. And then the last con, I don't want to end this on a negative note, but I guess that's how we're doing this. It's just kind of missing out on new releases and having buyer's guilt. So this kind of goes back to the first pro that I talked about, where you are a more conscious consumer, you're a smart shopper, you really think things through. You might talk yourself out of a lot, and I mean a lot, of new releases. Like I said, I'm not an impulse shopper anymore, and I talk myself out of a lot. Like, I am able to look at something and think to myself, I have 5 dupes of this in my collection. I do not need to spend my hard-earned coin on this eyeshadow palette. I walked into a Sephora last weekend and I swatched so many palettes, and I was like, it's kind of like, you know, this palette in my collection, or I have something like that already. And I was just like, who am I? Because A year ago, that never would have happened. Never. I would have walked out of there with like a $200 bag of goodies. So, you know, you might miss out on some new releases, and, you know, YouTubers that you watch might be talking about them, and you might like feel like you're like missing out on something. But, you know, it's not about missing out. You're just making kind of like a lifestyle change. So in my opinion, it is a positive thing, but there are those moments where I feel like I'm missing out on the new releases. And every now and then, you know, I will treat myself to a new release that I, you know, think is really beautiful, or that I've been wanting for a little while now. But I definitely sometimes can have buyer's guilt, you know, buyer's remorse, when you buy something and you're like, oh man, this is kind of exactly like this product in my collection, or, you know, this isn't really adding value to my collection. So then you just kind of feel guilty for like lusting after those new releases when you have something so similar in your collection. You might feel guilty sometimes, but it's like give or take. You know, you need to figure out what's important to you and what makes sense for your lifestyle, and then just take it from there. But that definitely is a con for me. Again, this is all personal. These are all just from my personal experience. None of this is fact. You might be having a totally different experience with your project pan, and that's totally fine. And if you are, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. Let me know, what are some of your pros and cons for project panning, to let others know, you know, if they are looking to get into this community, what do they have to look forward to? Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this super quick little video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I would love to have you back here, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!